Welcome to the Segmented Podcast, the show where we bring you 3 segments, each episode ranging from discussion to improv. How you doing, Noah?
I'm doing quite well, thank you very much, Benjamin.
Spectacular. We have a wonderful show lined up for you.
Do indeed.
And also for you, Noah. This episode is dedicated to you.
Wow, thank you so much.
It's the Noah episode. It's not the title, but I'm going to call it the Noah episode. Why? Because, we'll find out in one of our segments. Which, speaking of, we got some fun segments today. We're going to start off with some I Don't Know Man, which is one of our newer segments that we kind of came up with off the fly a few episodes ago. A lot of fun. Then we'll move into a discussion talking about a bit of a special holiday that's today. So we'll get into that. And then we'll finish off with everybody's favorite, or at least a lot of people's favorite, one of my favorite, 60-second improv story.
A classic.
Classic.
Absolute classic. Segment 1. We're going to be doing I Don't Know Man, where basically each of us present the other with a very absurd, complicated question that doesn't even make sense. And what we need to do is logically answer the question and give an explanation for the situation or something. The physics don't have to make sense with the laws of this universe, but as long as we present new rules to how this world functions and logic behind it, it's an acceptable answer.
Essentially, it's a game of each of us trying to come up with a harder and harder question that the other isn't able to answer, but the other always has to find a way to answer.
Indeed, because I don't know, man.
I don't know, man.
Would you like to go first?
All right, Noah. Okay, so this has been in the back of my mind for a while, and it's kind of eating at me, and I know you know a lot about science, so
I know so much about science.
Why are they designing the new self-driving cars to only stop for pedestrians under the age of 24 and above the age of 48?
Well, this is actually pretty easy question to answer, because
great.
Those above 48 are considered elderly.
Okay.
And so they are very fragile beings.
Right.
And so the cars need to learn to stop for them, because how much life do they have left? Probably not much, even though both my parents are well over 48, but that's irrelevant. So, and the people who are under 25 or 24, they have so much life to live that we need to understand, and the cars need to learn that those people have lives to live. Now, between the ages of 25 and 47, or 48, they've lived life, and they haven't made it far enough to the point where if they die then, it's like, oh man, there's so much I can do. They've done a lot.
They haven't made it to the finish line.
No, they haven't. Once you make it to the finish line, that's when you can retire at the age of 49.
You've heard it here first. We want to kill our workforce.
Yeah, no, it's fine. They say kids are the future because they are. And then there's the elderly people, which we don't want to be rude to, because respect your elders. That's the real reason.
Sorry to the adults between the ages of 18 and 24 and 49 and 65. You get to survive. Anyone in between you.
See ya. All right, Ben. Why did you encourage the archer to harness the power of the fire beast and allow him to go and steal the Jade Pyramid?
Okay, well... Oh, gosh, you know nothing about mythology. Okay.
Obviously not.
So, there's the archer, right? The archer is the one destined to save the land from the evil water beast. Water beast being, some people call it the great ocean monster. Totally floods the land. Crops can't grow. Terrible. So, in order to stop the water beast, you have to try to dry up the land. And so, what was the name of the red one again you were talking about?
Oh, the fire beast?
Yes, the fire beast. And then there was the jade. What was it again?
The Jade Pyramid. The archer stole it.
What's that?
He stole the Jade Pyramid.
Who did?
The archer did.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. So
and you encouraged him to do it. So I'm wondering why you do
I'm not.
that.
Here's the problem. So the archer has to appease the fire beast. The fire beast isn't technically good or evil. He's sort of a neutral character in this whole situation. Water beast, totally evil, taking over the land. So what he needs to do is he needs to dry up the earth. Because it's been totally soaked by the water beast. It's turned into a swampy marsh. So in order to appease the fire beast, he has to do a great deed. So he has to steal the Jade Pyramid from the Jade temples from the far lands. There's a bunch of crazy, weird green monsters there, but most people don't go there. So he stole the Jade Pyramid, which is one of the great sacred artifacts that would appease one of the ancient beasts. Brings it to the Fire Beast. The Fire Beast hopefully will then take the offering, dry up the land, and the archer saves the world. But yeah, that's why that's going on.
Okay, respectable. I thought you were just a terrible human being, but I guess you had your own reasons to encourage him to do such a thing.
Noah, wow, that was really fun. I've been on a bit of a Zelda bit lately. Okay.
Well,
Noah.
Yes.
How is it possible that you can make cookies out of tar, pickles, and toads, but they never turn out when you try to make cookies out of oil, cucumbers, and frogs?
Oh, okay. Well, the thing is, when you're cooking with oil, cucumbers, and frogs,
right?
They sometimes, very rarely, if you're good enough, I'm not good enough, so I can't do it. But I have seen it done where they have made cookies successfully, but it's very difficult and takes years of experience, and it also takes 14 hours to cook directly. And you have to do it very, very, very slowly. Now, when I do it with tar, pickles, and toads, you have to extract the fat from the toad, and that's where you get all your fat from in order for the cookies to hold together.
Got it.
The flavor comes from the pickles, and the tar is there to add flavor and crunch and have that really good moist flavor.
Right.
Now, when you use oil is a little, it's liquidy, so it's less. It doesn't hold it together. It's kind of, tar is like molasses, but oil is less so, and it kind of whooshes around. But some people can extract the frog fats so well that they can just use that, and then oil is actually used to make it less thick. And then cucumbers, the reason you can't very well use cucumbers but you can use pickles is because the pickles have the vinegars in them and the different liquids in order to hold everything together and give it more flavor. Cucumbers, on the other hand, are just really liquidy, and it's mainly just water, and they don't have the flavor that you need in order to make cookies. So yeah, that's why.
All right.
That's why it's possible.
Yeah, that makes sense now. Thank you for clearing that up.
Thanks for clearing it up. I've been wondering that my whole life. I'm
Strange
so
conundrum.
All right, Ben.
Riddle me.
Why is it whenever the brutes murder the current queen, you're staying safely in your cocoon with your wires and video games and not taking action?
So, the reason why I stay in the cocoon while the brutes are murdering the queen is because I can actually get more done from the cocoon. A lot of people call them video games. I call them social manipulation. So a lot of the games that I'm playing are massively multiplayer. I'm not sure how well you know massively multiplayer.
Yes.
Yes. They actually reach a wider audience than a social network. And so here's the thing. Brutes will be brutes. I can't just go running around killing a bunch of brutes, because what am I then, Noah? I'm a brute murderer.
Then you're a brute. Yes.
I'm a brute.
Oh, a brute.
Well, yes. That makes me a brute. But it also makes me a brute murderer. Not great for my image. What happens when you change people's minds slowly? When you make people realize, when you incept into their minds that maybe it's not right for the brutes to do what they do, murdering queens and whatnot. And the only way to do this, to slowly change minds and make people believe really your message, is through massively multiplayer games, video games, as you would call them. So what I do, I run around with my copyrighted username, BruteSlayer64, and I change people's minds little by little. I make friends. I add my friends list. Before you know it, I have a group. I have a following of people who understand what's wrong with the brutes and them murdering the queens. And before you know it, I have people coming to my cocoon. I don't have to leave. And they're asking how they can help. They're asking how they can join the movement against the brutes. And that's the wonderful thing about the internet and what you would call video games, is you can reach so much of a bigger audience than if you were to leave your cocoon.
Excellently answered. Eloquently put.
All right. This one's stupid. This is okay. Noah.
One moment. My copyrighted username, BruteSlayer64.
Here's the thing: when you build up a following, there's a lot of Brute Slayers. You know. How are they gonna know you're the OG Brute Slayer? 64 at the end. Copyright that.
Oof. Okay, copyrighted.
Okay, Noah. This is just dumb.
Okay, got it.
If my friend Jacob's ancestors descended from birds, how is it possible that he is terrified of heights, except for in the case that he wears a bowl on his head on his half birthday while it's raining? Then he isn't terrified of heights.
Okay, well, this actually goes way back to when he was a baby. I'm not sure, but this is probably some sort of childhood trauma. And when he was first kicked out of the nest by his bird family, he couldn't fly because he's a baby. And so he fell to the ground, and that's what happened. And then he was afraid of heights. So he doesn't want to go toward heights because he always gets flashbacks. Right. Presumably. I don't know exactly, but this is just my experience with very similar situations.
The many similar situations.
Yes. Sometimes it's raised by wolves. Sometimes it's raised by horses and cows. I've had lizard families. But anyway, birds is one that I've seen a couple of times. But yeah, so I think the main reason is that's why he's afraid of heights initially. That makes sense.
Right.
But
yep.
I think when it comes to when it's on his birthday and he has a bowl on his head and it's raining, it's definitely different because that probably relates to safety. And when he has a bowl on his head, it makes him feel safe and warm and protected.
Yeah.
And so when it's raining and he's being hit by all these bullets of water,
right.
He feels protected with the bowl on his head. Mm-hmm. And so he doesn't think about the heights. And he thinks about how safe and loved he is on his birthday and how safe and protected he is with the bowl on his head and the rain being shot at him. Because he is so high up in spirits that he can't be taken down by anything. And he knows it.
Wow.
And I'm proud of him for that.
I'm really proud of Jacob now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You should definitely encourage him and let him know that you're there for him.
I have a newfound respect for Jacob, my bird friend.
Yes. Well, he's a human. He was just raised.
Right. Yeah. He's a bird descendant friend. Bird person.
Ben, how are you able to save the baby who is choking on top of a burning building while you, at the time, were juggling 16 chainsaws and dancing with a fire dancer who coincidentally, accidentally lit the building on fire?
Excellent question, mister. I know here at this press conference, you all are thinking that same thing, and you're thinking, how did he do it? How could he have possibly saved the choking baby atop the burning building while at the time I was juggling 16 chainsaws with the fire dancer who had set the building on fire? And I thought about this a lot myself, and it all comes down to one thing. Do you know what that is?
I do not. I would love to know.
It comes down to hands. Not like the concept of hands, like your hands, like my hands, specifically my hands in this situation. It was what I did with my hands. So juggling 16 chainsaws, right?
Right.
The story you didn't hear is that these chainsaws are all about half an inch tall, long, however you want to say it. None of them have blades. They're actually just really small bladeless chainsaws. Chainsaws, nevertheless. And I was actually juggling those because that's how I maintain focus in my left hand. You see, my right hand is very focused on the task at hand, but my left hand oftentimes wanders. You see, when I'm trying to save people, as that is my job, a lot of times my right hand will reach for their arm, but my left hand will reach for their throat. And that's not how we work, obviously. They have to work together. So in order to keep my left hand busy, I had it juggling 16 very small bladeless chainsaws. The fire dancer on the top, completely inconsequential. He accidentally set the building on fire when he was baking some casserole a few hours earlier. Completely unrelated to him being a fire dancer, whatever you call. He was just doing a bit of a jig on the top. So he was just dancing up there because that's what he does on Tuesdays. Strange, but it's fine. He was completely unaware of the building that was burning. The child on the top, or the choking baby, as the news calls it, was his child. Choking, of course, on the casserole from earlier, which was pretty badly burnt, but that's all right. The baby didn't mind. The baby thought it tasted fine, but I mean, it's a baby, and the baby didn't have any teeth, so it choked on the burning casserole. And so there I am at the top. I had saved everyone else on the burning building, but there was still the baby on top. And so as I busy my left hand with the 16 tiny bladeless chainsaws, and the baby's father is dancing a little jig on the back of the building, completely unbeknownst to both the burning and the child, because he's deaf and blind. Very strange. A cute sense of smell, though. Makes great casseroles. And so with my right hand, I simply grabbed the baby, not by the throat, but by the arm, tossed it into the air. Don't worry, done this many times. Used my right hand again to slap the back of the baby, therefore burping it or removing said casserole from its mouth, and then catching it again by the leg. And then from there, I mean, it's history. I slid down the building and saved the baby.
Excellent answer. Segment 2. Today's holidays.
Today, we have a very special holiday. Or I don't know if it's special. It's a holiday, though. Everyone knows it. That is, of course, National Barbecue Spare Ribs Day. Probably my favorite barbecuing day. Besides, I mean, of course, National Barbecue Day, which is also today. But specifically National Barbecued Spare Ribs Day. Probably my top 5 favorite barbecuing holidays.
I was going to say the same thing. I think it's my top 3 after Korean Barbecue Day.
Right.
Which is not today.
It's a different day, of course.
I would also like to note that today is July 4th, 2018, when this comes out. So if you're listening to this in the future, that is when it came out. So we're talking about today's holidays, and there's some pretty big ones, one of which that you mentioned already.
Right.
And what are some other ones that we have, Ben?
Well, I mean, aside from National Barbecued Spare Ribs Day and National Barbecue Day, of course, the ones that everyone think of when they think July 4th.
Well, that's what I think of.
There's a few, some other ones, notably Sidewalk Egg Frying Day. When it gets really hot, you can go outside, fry some eggs.
I haven't actually done that myself because I live in the county and we do not have any sidewalks for another 5 miles away from my house. But I have seen people do it when I've been out on July 4th.
Well, I mean,
the 4th of July, as some people call it.
Right.
Although I don't know if that is.
That reminds me, when people say 4th of July, they're usually referring to Invisible Day, which isn't to be confused with Indivisible Day, which is
also today,
the same day, but Invisible Day is the more important one, which is focusing and recognizing our invisible peers. The people that help us out every day, but are invisible, literally invisible.
Yes. Literally invisible. Although some people are trying to get it so it is a more broad term of invisible, and just those people who work out on the sidelines and aren't in the spotlight, but we should still appreciate the work they do. Although I think that's bogus, and I think we should
I feel like
devote
that's
a day to them.
taking away invisible people's rights.
Yes, I agree. I think we should take a stand for this. I think Invisible Day should stay for invisible people.
You know what? I would almost go as far to say Invisible Day should be the most well-known July 4th holiday, even above National Barbecue Day and National Barbecued Spare Ribs Day.
If I'm being completely honest, I think it's the most important one, because I think it's the one that it really holds up a discriminated against group. And I think that is important for our society to do that. And it is also Indivisible Day, which also is trying to push our diversity and how we're all together.
Right.
And I think that we should definitely be acknowledging the invisible people of today. And so if you out there have any invisible friends, go tell them how much they mean to you, and maybe give them a hug. It might be difficult, but I don't know. I only have one invisible friend. Because I don't have very many.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's just, sometimes there's not as many invisible people in some areas.
Yeah.
Completely understandable.
Where I live, there really aren't very many, unfortunately.
Well, that's all right. I'm glad you're friends with one, though. I'm glad you're showing your support.
How many invisible friends do you have?
I mean, I don't know. I had 2 or 3. A few years ago. I mean, I don't really talk to them anymore, but I knew them. They were nice.
something that I almost completely forgot about. It's also National Alice in Wonderland Day.
That's true. That's true. I forgot. I left my Mad Hatter costume in the closet. I had it ready last week.
Well, I'm currently wearing my bunny costume.
We should have met up. We should have met up at the Alice in Wonderland convention today.
Yes, although it is in Canada, so I don't know if I could have gone to that.
I should have made it. I actually, I feel terrible. I was so focused.
You know what? We'll make it next July 4th. Wait a second. We're not even filming this on July 4th. How about we meet up? We'll go to the Alice in Wonderland convention on July 4th, and then we'll make it because we're recording this before July 4th. I just
realized, it doesn't have to be today. It can be a few weeks before today. Yeah, you're right. This is perfect. All right, I will schedule it. We'll meet there. I'll have my Hatter costume on. It'll be great. We'll make some spare ribs, maybe some brats, some hamburgers.
Yeah.
Invite all of our invisible friends. All connect again.
Yeah.
Make some eggs, some sidewalk eggs. And
if I get my invisible friend to wear a costume, then it would freak everyone out.
It would be. It could be the Cheshire Cat.
Oh my gosh, that's genius. Sorry, that was really good. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I'll get Frank to dress up as the Cheshire Cat, and he should be okay with that. He'd have to not wear any other clothes though, which I don't know if he'd be okay with that. It is in Canada, so it will be pretty cold.
Well, those are some important holidays today, I guess.
Today, July 4th, 2018. Segment 3, 60-second improv story. Basically how this works is we each have 60 seconds to create a story. One person will give their co-host a name, location, and a nonsense word, and the other person has to come up with a story in 60 seconds and use all of them.
Right. This one is a special one this time. This time we're doing it for 61 seconds, right, Doa?
Whoa. What?
Yes. Yes. It is
I did not know this.
That
is outrageous.
We have been planning this one for a long time. I sent you the memo this morning. I don't know what you're talking about.
I know. I remember us planning it, but I didn't know that we were officially going to start today.
This episode, there was like 6 faxes I went through this morning.
Oh, I don't actually have a printer.
All right, 61-second improv story today.
Okay.
Name, location, and as I like to call it, gibberish word, because it's a special one today. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Because your name is Pilker.
Pilker. Got it.
Your location is a subway station.
All right.
And your gibberish word is Thoshin.
Thoshin?
Thoshin.
Thoshin.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Pilker. Subway station. Thoshin.
Ready? Set. Go.
Pilker. Pilker Thoshin was not his name. Pilker was a Thoshin. A Thoshin is a king of the ocean. Which is why it's a portmanteau of the word the and ocean, Thoshin. And so basically, what the Thoshins did, they go around to different underground locations, such as a subway station, to make sure all the draining is stopped. So Pilker was at a subway station, making sure all of the water that came in from the ocean was plugged up and taken.
Boop.
Just much like Avatar Last Airbender, he has the ability to bend water and movement. So he took all of the water that was filled up in the subway station, in the tracks and stuff. He took it and he absorbed it into himself and brought it back to the ocean and spat it out with his magical powers. And Pilker was able to go back to his family and say, I did it. I cleared every subway station in all of New York.
And time.
And yeah.
Wow, what an accomplishment. I'm so proud of Pilker, not Thoshin.
Yes.
Pilker the Thoshin.
Yes, he is one of the many Thoshins of the water realm. And
all right.
Yeah. All right. Your name is Boa. Boa. And your location is in an apocalypse bunker. And your gibberish word is Hikuzak.
Hikuzak.
Yep.
Hikuzak. All right. I'm ready.
All right. Boa. Apocalypse bunker. Hikuzak. Your 61-second timer starts now.
So Boa was sitting in his apocalypse bunker with his best friend, Bia. Both of them are humans, not boas, just to be clear. And they're sitting in the bunker, and they're talking about their lives and all of the great, things that they've done, because they know that soon it's going to come upon them, and the bunker's not going to hold, and they're going to die, and that's fine. And they were reminiscing when they used to jump in the Hickazak pool in the backyard, Dad's Hickazak pool. And a Hickazak pool is just like a regular pool, except it's filled with hickory nuts and honey. It's very, very painful to jump into it, but Dad loved going in it, and he always said, "Bo and Bia, don't go in the Hickazak pool." But one day they did, and they had a good chuckle about that as the roof caved in, and they both died. They dead, both of them, instantly.
Nice. Hickory nuts and honey. That is the end of our show. We hope you did enjoy it. Ben, what did we learn today?
We learned that you can make cookies out of tar, pickles, and toads, but it's very difficult to make them out of oil, cucumbers, and frogs because they get too watery and there's not enough fat.
Indeed. We also learned that invisible people are people too.
Right. They are. I also learned that you gotta summon the fire beast if you want to stop the water beast. Pretty simple stuff.
And we all learned why Jacob is so afraid of heights.
It's true.
You can find us on Twitter at @nomitch_, that's me, and at Tiztendo, that's Ben. Email us at segmentedfm@gmail.com, and support the podcast on Patreon at patreon.com/segmentedfm, where you can get an extra segment every episode, as well as listen to our recording sessions live. But the best way that you can support us is by telling friends about the podcast and leaving a review, because if you leave reviews, then it boosts it up in search results, and that will allow more people to find us. And that would be awesome. And also, I'd like to say thank you to our newest patron. Thank you to Owen for supporting the podcast. That really helps us out. I don't know if you wanted your name on there, but
we really appreciate you,
Owen. Thank you very much. It really means a lot, and we will be singing a song that he writes eventually soon.
Boy. And with that, we leave you with the sound of a train running over a very large box of peanuts. Yep.
I think I'm gonna leave in the fact of me saying, "Oh my gosh, that's brilliant," because I think it's deserved.